So, hello everyone. A very warm welcome to this live virtual boardroom series organized by Zoho Creator. These sessions are designed to give you the opportunity to learn a little about low code and the best practices to take your business transformation initiatives to the next level. With us, we have Ali Shabdar, who's a regional director for Zoho Middle East Africa, and Leila Kakar from MTN. So, without further ado, I would hand this over to Ali to start off with the first session.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you. So just a quick look at the agenda and we move forward. Introductions passed. We'll have a quick look at the whole low-code, no-code platforms, specifically Zoho Creator, and see what the whole fuss is about, why it matters today to the IT departments and companies of all sizes if they're serious about their digital transformation. Then we'll have Leila talk about their success story, in MTN, which is one of the largest telcos in the world. And we had the pleasure of working with them very closely. And then we'll move into Q&A and hear from you. And then we'll move it forward probably on one-on-ones and different sessions. Okay. Now, how does Zoho Creator bring business and IT together? This is an age-old question. I think most of us, regardless of our background, working in companies of different sizes, especially the larger the company gets, we always have this big gap between business and the IT. The mutual understanding is often not there, and business needs to change much faster than the IT department can respond to it in terms of requirements, new projects, new initiatives, and it creates a lot of frictions. Increases business risk, and of course it impacts ROI and TCO and all of the issues that really matter for a business systems. So let's see how Creator addresses that issue. We see that digital transformation is here, has been here for the past decade, but I believe COVID has really put it on acceleration. 80% of the companies are either going through this or are considering it. But now I was reading some studies, and even back in 2018-19, 75% of digital transformation projects fail for a number of reasons, and one of them is the fact that people, process, and technology cannot really merge with each other, understand each other, and push the project forward. This amounts to almost $1 trillion a year globally in failed IT projects. So what is the solution? So let's look at what is holding back the IT departments. And in organizations, we look at IT as you have to go fix everything and come back to us. Sometimes we even expect them to read our mind and fix our issues before they arise. But that is not the case, because first of all, they need to understand exactly what's happening in the business. On the other hand, there's a big backlog in IT departments, and it's increasing depending on the size of the company. And you can see in this chart, the companies of 500 employees, up to 500 employees, they have up to 10 projects in their back burner. Either they're working on it or they are going to work on it. And by the time gets to them, to those projects, business requirements change, departments reshuffle, the industries will be disrupted. And larger organizations, some of them can manage this better or not really better. So, and IT's effort, up to 70% of IT's effort is spent on just keeping the lights on, maintenance and whatnot. Another thing is the talent issue. Now, with the digitalization, the pace at which the workforce is trained, either the new workforce, the young ones who are going to universities and get graduated, or the existing workforce, which is actually our real assets, they are not up to speed, they're not equipped. And we cannot expect people in sales, marketing, and HR to know how to program or design an information system. So again, there is a big gap. Now, do we hire more IT people? Do we outsource it? What are the risks? What are the implications versus, or we just don't do digital transformation? So it becomes really challenging and expensive to look for talent and keep them working for us. Another area is the demand for custom application is increasing massively, up to 5 times in the recent years. With automation, with new ways of differentiation, different departments want to stay ahead of the game. In UAE alone, probably 5 years ago, nobody was required to have accounting systems. Only the big companies used to do that. But now, with the introduction of VAT, every tiny company also needs to have accounting placed there. Saudi Arabia is making electronic invoices mandatory, and so there's going to be a massive shift in the number of information systems or accounting systems in this particular case by a lot of companies. Now, same happens to the sales departments. CRM is becoming more and more relevant if you want to stay competitive. Process automation is becoming a risk point for a lot of large organizations, and this gap needs to be filled by digital solutions. Now, low-code platforms like Zoho Creator bridge the gap between the business and IT. So what does this mean? Is that, okay, we cannot expect business to know how to program, to understand how to build and maintain an information system. And we cannot expect IT to fix everything and build everything for us at the speed of light. There's a big gap in here. Talent, time, resources, budget, all of that. Low-code to no-code platforms try to bridge this gap and enable people who know the business best, the HR people, sales people, marketing people. They know their line of business better than anybody else. It enables them to be able to build systems, applications that automates their mundane tasks or helps them re-strategize and go forward. Zoho Creator gives you a lot of simplicity and abstraction. Let's have a quick look at some of the features, and we'll get into details probably later. So from idea to app, when your marketing department wakes up one day and says, we want to run a campaign across the city, collect data from people, and push it to the cloud and get some reports and intelligence. What are the solutions? Either outsource, or if you have an IT team, do the work with them. 6 months later, probably you don't have the solution and your campaign time is gone. If you want to do something between now and Expo, you better do it yourself. If you outsource it, it might not happen. So from idea to app, Creator brings it much closer, because with a drag and drop interface, you can which allows you to create the UI and the logic and takes care of everything in the background. Your idea can turn into an app in a day or two, and this is not an overestimation. You can rely on having, if you have your data on a spreadsheet, just drag and drop, import it, and that spreadsheet turns into a full-fledged application, probably with a bunch of clicks. Reporting is another important issue. If a department head wants to go and meet with the VP or the CEO, which one would you choose if you're showing a report? A tabular list on a spreadsheet, or beautiful pie charts and graphs for everybody to understand what's going on in the business in real time, probably in a matter of seconds? Of course, the pie charts and the graphs. So again, drag and drop report building tools are available in Creator. Data organization is very important when you design any kind of data-based system, and in Creator, it's fully abstracted. You don't need to worry about it. Just look at what information you need to enter and build the app based on that. Creator takes care of the rest of it. Of course, you build apps to be customer-centric. You have two types of customers, either external, the real customers, or your own employees. The user experience and usability of these applications has to be optimum for employees to adopt it and use it efficiently, and also for customers to be able to see what they need to see with the right permissions and also an intuitive interface. So, specifically in Creator case, differentiating between customers, which they are shown, actually they have access to customer portal, is way more intuitive and cost effective comparing to adding number of users for the backend. Abstractions, I talked about it. So abstraction helps you with cost. You only look at the interface, you let the system takes care of everything else, so you reduce complexity, you reduce bugs, you reduce crashes, and the time that you spend to build the app. This directly impacts your ROI. course, again, maintenance, you don't worry about the infrastructure. If you build an app that is the beginning used by 10 people, no worries, same application. If you want to scale it up to 10,000, 100,000 and more users, still the same application. Creator platform takes care of it in the background. You don't even need to go and change the settings. Just add users or give more users access to the customer portal. Security and compliance is always at the top of our agenda. We are fully GDPR compliant. And when you design your app, we help you with certain tools to stay GDPR compliant or compliant to any data protection laws and regulations. Of course, upgrades happen in the backend. There is no deployment. For the IT people, probably they like this idea. You just build the app, share the URL, or ask people to download the app, and then all the updates happen in the background. There is no distribution, no deployment in a traditional sense. Of course, you can use the default cloud, which is extremely scalable. But if you have sensitive data that you want to put on your own private cloud or other hybrid clouds, or some of the public clouds like AWS or Azure, you have the option to do that with Creator. Still the same easy way of development and deployment, and the rest is taken care of by Creator. Now, lifecycle management. When we build an app, by default, it's available in production, but you can use an interim sandbox where you play with data and the app without harming the real information or users, and then deploy it when you're happy with it. And you can have, of course, backtrack, undo, and all of that to make sure that the app is always up to speed with the requirements and no risk is posed to users nor to the data. Security, again, user management, all of that is a built-in feature. You don't need to worry about it. Just add, remove users and give them access to what they need to see to the field level, record and field level. Again, you start with drag and drop, so everybody can build an app, but we have not limited you to your imagination. So you can either use integrations, which are, again, drag and drop, use mobile SDK to take your mobile app to the next level, build an interface of your dreams and have Creator take care of the backend, or use APIs to connect to virtually any other system that is modern that has REST APIs. We also have code injection, and allow you to bring pre-built functions that you've made in JavaScript or Java itself. So all of that translates into a lot of happy customers. In the past few years, we were fortunate to have some of the biggest brands in the world, globally or locally, using our platform to build applications and run it in the production environment. From MVP to fully fledged, resource-intensive and critical applications were built with Creator. 5.5 million apps for up to 13,000, more than 13,000 happy customers across the globe. So these names, they don't need any introduction. You can see it on the screen. Locally, we have Laminar, which is a part of Al-Shirawi Group. We have Blue, which is a part of Al-Serkal Group. Of course, we have the pleasure of working with MTN in the Middle East and a bunch of other brands. Some of them we're not allowed to mention their names, who are using Creator either along with the other systems or exclusively. So let's have a look at what some of our customers have built. By the way, if you have questions, there's a question box to your left. You can write down your questions. If you have time, we give you mic access at the end of the session as well. And we can also take some of the questions offline to get into more detail about the issues you're facing. So Samsonite, they had built an app or a system that manages end-to-end, after-sales repair cycle. One of the things they did, and Creator is so good at it, is not negating the systems you have. Of course, when you have a medium to large enterprise, definitely you're already using some systems. Some are legacy, some are advanced systems, and we don't want to touch them. But scaling them up or extending them is either costly or next to impossible. Creator plugs itself in this scenario and allows you to, similar to what Samsonite did connect the ERP, HR, payroll, and POS system, plays as an integrator and adds a lot of value down the process line. So the challenges they wanted to have access to a system that allows them to do quick deployment and development. It's not possible with some of the competing platforms that are established, and I'm sure you're using them. Maintaining disparate systems. This is also becoming a very big challenge. The larger the organization, the bigger the challenge in maintaining a mix of legacy and modern systems in terms of the system itself, onboarding, education, risk, security, compatibility, and integration. And also, of course, these apps end up being siloed. If you have an advanced accounting system, it often does not integrate or talk directly to your sales system, to your CRM, and this does not necessarily connect to the marketing platform. So Creator can become the intermediary and make sure that all the data is maintained and you have a single source of the truth for your information. This is the diagram of the entire process Samsonite automated. This is after sales, from customer demand to when the repair is done and it's handed over. And it takes a lot of data from different systems and pushes back data to make sure that information integrity is preserved, and also automation happens across the process. Another company, Azalea, they had an ERP called Olive ERP, and they believed that nothing will replace it because it was so complex and advanced, but they used Zoho Creator and they could actually replace that successfully. And they were very happy with the outcomes in 3 months, which is usually, when you're dealing with large systems, 3 months is the time that takes to just conclude the steering committee meetings and probably not even reaching the point when you're collecting requirements. Same, it's a complex process here. I'm not going to get into the detail here, but again, areas like receiving, manufacturing, management, just to have a bird's eye view on the whole operation, inventory, delivery, and also connection to customers. All of this was replaced by processes that were automated on Creator. LEI is a recycling company in I believe it's in the US, and they had an existing SAP implementation, which is powerful by itself, no doubt in that. But if you have used SAP before, you know that it's really costly and time-consuming to extend it with integrations or new implementations. So Creator usually comes in and acts as a buffer between the user and the legacy system, or as you can see in this diagram, integrates a lot of other services, including SAP, to automate a massive process. So integration is another area that is becoming more and more important in the modern world. So you can see all of these services, they had input to the Creator app, from Heroku, which is a platform as a service, to AirPrint, which is just a feature, of course, as a service as well, Sage Accounting and SAP, and all of that were automated across. They also built a customer portal. This is, the way they designed it. So you have users that are inside the organization, different users, admins, normal users, developers, and also you have customers. So we have the portal feature where they can access the platform much easier with more limited access and see exactly what they need to see. This also makes the implementation way more cost effective. The interesting part about this project is that it was made by a farmer, of course, the smart one who spent a lot of time building the app and understood his business really good. But the impressive part is that he did not come from an engineering or software development background. He had an idea, he had a pain, and he tried to address it, and he found Zoho Creator, and he could build this almost single-handedly and also help other people automate their processes. Now, I'm going one step further, just showing the whole creator ecosystem and how it works with some of our other tools, and then we'll wrap this up. So custom app creator, of course, abstraction of complexity. This is the core of Zoho Creator. It's all about abstraction and making sure that the automation happens properly. So you can see that we don't care about the system, security, users, authentication, all these time-consuming and risky modules. Creator takes care of all of that. You just focus on the logic and the app you want to build. Code abstraction, image on the top shows a drag and drop, really easy to use interface. I was actually teaching it to first year hospitality management students, and they found it super intuitive. They came up with ideas by just seeing how the app is working and how easy to use that is. And while you're doing a drag and drop, in the background, Creator writes the code for it. So you can actually it makes it very portable and customizable at the same time. And then you can bring the languages you know. If you want to move one step further, above drag and drop, you have the option of doing scripting. By default, you use Deluge, which is our own scripting language. It's quite simple, flexible, yet very secure. So you can't really crash the system by writing Deluge code. But if you already have pre-built modules or you know some of other languages, you can bring your Python, Node, or Java code into the mix. All right. And well, yeah, I talked about this. It does automatically the abstraction thing. So you just build it once, and it takes care of which device it's going to show it on. Is it desktop? Is it mobile? No problem. You don't even need to sweat to change anything. Takes care of the database, writes the code itself, and even the design is quite responsive to make sure that all devices are supported. So you make mobile applications in certain ways. One of the cool features we added last year is that you can white label your app and upload it to the App Store. So with Zoho Creator, you either use Creator Container, ask your team to download Creator Container, and they have access to the apps that they can see, they have access to, or you download the app, push it to App Store in the traditional sense, and then app becomes available either at Google Play Store or Apple's App Store. This saves massive time and effort compared to developing it in Java or Swift or Objective-C. So that's another very cool feature. Also, with the updates, it helps you a lot. We added a bunch of very nifty AI features that you can use, every business can use on day-to-day basis. And also, you can actually use Creator for RPA, robotic process automation. Basically automating any process that used to be done by human beings. Repetitive, mundane, and you have much better use of your team instead of pushing papers literally. You give it to the robots, and these are not physical robots, of course, it's pieces of software, but it actually allows you to increase a lot of efficiency and effectiveness. AI, quickly, we added 5 modules, drag and drop, believe it or not. So prediction feature allows your app to make predictions based on the data that is stored. So if these type of customers, for example, certain type of customers will buy or not, it makes some predictions, or how long will it take for them to buy based on historical data. Keyword extractor is super useful, especially in customer service scenarios where it looks for certain keywords, highlights them, and you can make decision based on those keywords, existence of those keywords within certain context. Sentiment analyzer, it's another growing area in AI. Again, another example in customer service, you can see how, from the tone of the text or what they are saying, making push a certain inquiry to certain teams. If they're happy, indifferent, unhappy, what happens to those kind of feedbacks? It could happen to employees or customers. OCR, or optical character recognition, is where you scan a paper or take a photo of a text, which is not actually readable text, and it turns it into proper text where you can process it even further. Let's say you take a copy of people's ID, you install your app on your mobile phone, you take photos of people's IDs, and it extracts their name, date of birth, and puts them into the database properly. Object detection, again, it's visual. The detection between, say, you're taking photos at the entrance of your office, and people's objects, like is this a camera, is this a laptop, or a book or whatnot, and based on that, you can write a code. This could be very useful in scenarios in inventory management, for example, or procurement management. Now, using Zoho Flow, you can integrate Creator to hundreds and hundreds of different workflows and applications, and we keep adding to that. So without coding, again, drag and drop connecting, you can connect Zoho Creator without a sweat to a myriad of other applications and workflows. This is one simple scenario. A new ticket is created in Zoho Desk. Zoho Desk is our support platform. It extracts the sentiment in a function of that particular ticket, let's say the comment box, based on the decision. If the sentiment of that text is negative, then it creates a post in a certain public channel on your corporate Slack, probably asking for people's help to come and tend to this customer because that customer was not very happy. With process creation, connecting Zoho Creator to Orchesley, which is enterprise process automation tool that we have. And by the way, some of these features, most of it, will come to Creator inbuilt quite soon. You can automate different complex processes using Orchesley and Creator for the time being. It can monitor the process usage, so steps of the process, you can see how many times they were used, or how many days and hours was spent in processing a single or a particular step in a complex process. So that also helps your process improvement agents within your organizations or your managers to make decisions about efficiency and effectiveness of certain processes, even outside the software. Reporting, of course, is a very important feature that we have. And this report, as you can see, visible to you, is purely built in Creator. Drag and drop dashboards, extracts data, calculations, graphs, and all of that. If you're not happy with this, of course, you can go to our BI tool, Zoho Analytics. But in the majority of the cases, what Creator does is fantastic, and it's enough for probably majority of the scenarios. You can even go down to query language if you're into writing. If you're familiar with, let's say, query languages like SQL, you can use this flexible query language and get into the table level and get your data. And as I mentioned before, it scales up and down with your requirement. If you're dealing with a bunch of users or probably a few thousand records, no problem. But if you have 20 terabytes of data to be processed or 1 billion records, still Creator can deliver without any problems. Serverless services, we have another platform called Catalyst, which again, it integrates well with Creator. This is next level development, just highlighting this for the IT team to know that by bringing your system to Creator, you're not limiting yourself. It's not like a toy. It is quite easy to use for all the essentials, but if you want to take it to the next level, you have access not only within the Zoho ecosystem, but you have access to other platforms as a service, or backend as a service, or a function as a service providers globally. So yeah, basic services, this is microservices that you can expose, as I mentioned, OCR, translation, handwriting recognition, all of that. Some of them are available out of the box, some of them are available with integrations. Just ending with one last case study from here. This is Aboites from Philippines, massive company, and they managed to not only save a lot of money, $670,000 a year in saving just by using Creator apps. They also were able to motivate and enable people in the organization who had nothing to do with IT, HR people, accountants, admins, to build and use apps. It adds massive values across the board, not only with efficiency, but also employee happiness. They feel included, and also they progress in their career. And definitely they will stay with you. I'll hand it over to Laila.
And good morning, everybody. Just before I start to explain the MTN journey with Zoho, just a quick introduction about myself. So I'm Laila Kak. I'm the Senior Manager Data Analytics, and I joined MTN about 3 years ago. I look after everything that's related to digital transformation, machine learning, RPA, and I mostly work within our GSSC team, which is looking after the procurement part of MTN within Dubai. Just a quick overview about MTN itself. MTN is Africa's leading telecom operator. It's the seventh largest mobile operator in the world based on subscriber numbers. We have 223 million subscribers, and we have an extensive quality infrastructure that reaches about 24 countries across Africa and the Middle East. And we have 63 different nationalities that are employed. So that's just a quick overview of MTN itself. Okay, now about our low coding journey with Zoho. So our main issue was the collection of our savings data. In the past, previously, the way that the process went was that we would send out Excel templates. And as you can imagine, there were no controls in place in order for us to receive the data. So we would receive Excel templates in different structures, in different formats, and it would take us a lot of time in order to actually prep the data and merge the data and make sure that we were dealing with smart data that was ready to be translated into insights and was actually trustworthy. So we were losing a lot of valuable time in order to do those types of processes and manual work. Another issue was the maturity level of our operating companies. We were dealing with complexity in different countries, different languages, but also different maturity levels. So the data that we would get would also be of different maturity levels and of different quality. So for some of the operating companies, we would spend a lot of time into harmonizing it and restructuring it. And for some, we would spend less time to it. But overall, to keep an overview of all this data that we would receive was a really time consuming and actually invaluable process that we would spend time on. Before we could actually also translate our data into insights, like I mentioned, it would be a lot of manual work, and we would lose time from the moment that we would actually receive the data in our inbox until we would be able to translate it into insights. So because of the big delay, we were not dealing with real-time data or real-time insights. And as soon as we would be able to get the insights, it was already too late, and the data would be data that would be in the past and wouldn't be that relevant anymore. So what did we do? We created our own application within Zoho that we called Boom, Business Process Management. So you can even see that we created a logo and we created a whole workflow around it. So how did Boom actually help us? Because it was a plug and play solution, as you know, from Zoho, each user could access it based on just logging in onto the web with their own user account and put their data in. So no time was wasted with integrating the systems with all the occurring or all the systems that were already present in the opcos. Because we have 22 different operating companies, it would mean that we would also deal with a number of different ERPs. So you can imagine that if you would need to integrate it with their current systems, it would take us a lot of time before we could go live. As this was just a plug and play, a web-based application, we could go live in seconds, actually. Another big win that we got was the workflows and controls that were built in. Because we designed the application ourselves, we could ensure that whenever the users would put in data, it would actually be smart and harmonized data. So we would not spend any time in trying to make sure that the data quality was good, that it was all harmonized, and that we could merge all the data together. Another big benefit was the audit trail, because in the beginning we would receive all the information through Excels. We needed to go back and forth through email if the data was not of good quality, and we needed to do some checks, sanity checks, if we thought that it didn't make sense, whatever we would see. That was a big win too, because everything was in one platform on Zoho and we had a log trail. We also had an audit trail of it. So we didn't need to worry if the data was being changed by the users, if they put in extra data. Everything was there from an audit perspective. A big win was also the notifications. Previously, we needed to keep a log of whenever we would receive data, if data was missing, if we would have sent out a question to our users. But because everything was on Zoho, we could automatically send them notifications and ask them that, okay, we're still missing your savings data for this month. Please make sure that you upload it before the end of the week. Because all of these notifications, the workflows and controls, and the plug and play character, we could actually have real-time insights, meaning that whenever the user would put in their data, they would see it real-time on our dashboards, what the insights would be, and get an overview. So this would also really help with our stakeholders, that they wouldn't have to reach out to us to get updates on whatever was going on. They could just log into our platform, look at the dashboards, and see what the latest status was. Just a quick overview before we went live, what process we followed. So we started with a blueprint. With a few of our stakeholders, we created it and figured out that, okay, what is important? Which insights do we want? What should be the notifications and the workflows that we have in play? Then we did the rollout. The rollout happened in all our opcos at the same time. We made sure that they were trained. We made sure that there were FAQs. And also, because of the different languages, we made sure that the training material and the FAQs were present in different languages. The next step was for us to even get more insights. So once the solution was stabilized and the adoption increased and our users were already familiar and comfortable by using the solutions, we increased the number of insights that we could get out of it by adding more data points into the system. And eventually we wanted to actually translate it into actionable insights. So not just the dashboard that they will log into and look at and see what the latest status was, but that will actually give them tangible insights that they could do something with. So for us, the most important thing was, how do you actually build sustainable solutions? Because creating an application and going live with it doesn't help you when the users are not really using it and seeing the value out of it. So for us, the most important thing was actionable insights. Our dashboard shouldn't just provide visibility and give them an overview, but should help them with taking actions. And we spent a lot of time and effort into making sure that that was the case. We also made sure that we did a KPI tracking. If we are going to go live with a solution, we also want to make sure and emphasize that you're going to use it by making sure that it's a KPI for our operating companies. The branding was also really important. So we gave it our own name, our own logo, and make sure that we had news flashes going on, making sure that they would actually know how to use it, what the best features within Zoho was, for example, the voice to text. We also had a walk-in clinic, meaning that on a weekly basis, they could just log in, ask every question that they had, and make sure that the system or the solution became more user-friendly. So this is definitely not the only thing that we have created in Zoho Creator. We also are planning to go live with a lot of more applications. So one of them is our supplier management portal. So what our supplier management portal does is making sure that our buyers are able to log in and log every of their issues or use cases that they have. And then from the other side, our suppliers can respond to it, put their reply into it, and we would have one portal where we have all our cases on, meaning that we have one source of truth, and all our buyers would have one platform where they can have an overview of what's going on with the suppliers. It will also make sure that we have smart data. So at the moment, all of the back and forth communication will go through email or calling them or messaging them. It's really difficult to get some insights into it, but because it's on a platform, you have certain workflows into place and the data is harmonized, we can actually translate these use cases into insights. So our buyers would have a really good overview of what's going on with the supplier, how many use cases are going on, what does those use cases concern them, is it the same over certain categories. It will also help us drive innovation because it will make sure that we can partner with our suppliers better. We can see what's going on, what are the issues that are popping up, and how can we actually make sure that we solve these issues in a really small time frame. It will also limit our risk because we would have a strong governance and we have a strong overview of whatever is going on with our suppliers. So that's our MTN journey with Zoho. Like I said, we have already gone live with one solution. We are planning to go live with our second solution this month. And I hope it will give you some insights on our approach.
Leila, I have one question for you. Uh, how easy was it to sort of adopt low code and train users on Zoho Creator when you began implementing it? Because I understand in an organization this large, one of the key challenges is training the users, right? So if you could just touch upon a little bit on the usage part of Creator, that'll help. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we didn't create it our own. It was with the help of Zoho to create our first application. However, the small tweaks that we needed to make are really easy to do yourself because, like Ali mentioned, it's just drag and drop. And then when it comes to our users that are actually using the application, it was really easy because we made sure that there wasn't a complex workflow that they needed to follow. It was really easy with the user interface being user friendly, and that we just had 4 different forms that would guide you through it. And what we also really did was before going live, we had separate sessions. We had a video guidance on how to use it that we also send out in case they couldn't attend the training or they forgot later on. And the walk-in clinics were also really important because whenever they had small issues, they could get in the walk-in clinic and then ask their questions. But overall, it was a really that was our main objective to not make the application more complex than needed.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks for that. Oh, there is one question by Yasser. So, how easy is it to develop workflows and populate data from previously submitted forms? Ali, would you want to take that?
It depends on where you, well, it's quite easy actually, but depends on where the previously submitted forms are. So is it in another platform? It depends on that platform. So imagine if I'm not sure if I understood this question fully. If you have a spreadsheet where it has the data in it, that's an Excel file. You import the Excel file. Creator looks at the rows and columns, builds the fields, builds the forms based on those columns, like first name, last name, invoice number, etc., amount, currency, and also populates the whole data. Now, at this point, there is no workflows because the system doesn't know what do you want to automate. What happens if you add a new record? Should we notify someone by email? Should we send an SMS to the submitter or the customer? So that you need to do yourself.
Okay, there's one more question by Manu Gupta. As per your experience, can small or mid-sized organizations attain strong ROI based on product pricing? Would you want to take that, Ali?
Sure. Yeah, the short answer is yes, absolutely. We did a test. We developed 4 different systems: school management, inventory management, sales management, and something else. I think it was procurement management with PHP, and then and Node, and then with Creator. Our performance increased around 10 times. So if it takes you 10 times less to build a Creator app compared to the equivalent PHP or Node, that's immediate savings there in the hours you spend on the software. Plus, there are intangibles. Complexities are reduced to almost nothing. If you're a developer, you know that implementing an OAuth system, an authentication system, even if you use a framework, is still complex. At least you have to get your hands dirty with the feedback functions. But here you have it out of the box. And avoiding doing that not only saves you time, but also saves you time in the future dealing with updates of the algorithm, the frameworks or whatnot, and it reduces your risk. So easily expect up to 10 times increase in performance. In another life, I used to do it myself. I could actually sit and code in Python, but I chose in many scenarios. This is before I even joined Zoho. We in one scenario, we processed 1 million record coming from the world's largest parts database for a hardware company. And I chose to use Creator to extract that data from an FTP server, pre-process it, and send some information to the CRM and some information to be stored. So again, it's your imagination. Thank you.
That's an interesting point. Also, I remember I was having a conversation with one of the customers based in Australia. They are a parts parts selling organization for the automotive industry. And I believe they had also a similar use case, which you mentioned.
Oh, cool.
And definitely there are significant gains across the spectrum if you're a small enterprise or an SMB. Yeah. Ali, another question for you, and Leila, please feel free to jump in as well. So this question is, our business works on Google Drive, Sheets, and Docs. Everything is stored and managed from there. So if we were to develop workflows with Creator, how much compatibility and integration would we be able to get?
I'll give my 2 cents, and probably Leila can also elaborate on this from her side, or you guys as well.
Sure.
One general guideline: Creator or any other tool or programming language is not designed to do everything. Creator is designed for a specific purpose. It's a very general and wide purpose, but still, I remember one day on stage, someone asked me, "Can I develop a game with Creator?" I would say, if it's a very basic tic-tac-toe game, do it. But if you want something that, if you want to build the next Fortnite, no, you need to use tools and that make sense to you. Now, in this particular example, you can still use Creator, but I would look into Zoho Flow as well. Now, with Creator, yes, you can do some automations, but in my opinion, having Google Drive, Google Sheets, and Docs, there are automations that you can easily do with Flow, even more simpler than Zoho Creator, unless you want to go to the next level. Imagine getting the content of some of your files, making some calculations based on the type of file or the access times and whatnot that would need something more complex other than just drag and drop. Then yes, Creator could do a lot of interesting work for you. That's all from my side for this question.
And thanks for that. I think it again boils down to an individual use case, specific scenario. Yeah. Leila, would you want to add to that? So have you used any Google Sheets or Drive before using Creator for the business operations at MTN?
Yeah, so I was about to say, in our case, we were using, for example, Google Drive or OneDrive, where we put all our documents. But the problem was that there were no controls in place. So the data that we will receive was not harmonized. So our main benefit that we got by using Creator is that we actually had controls in place and an audit trail. So we actually moved away from using Google Drive at all and making sure that whatever data they would put in would be put in into Zoho Creator, that we could ensure that there were controls and workflow. So I think our biggest advantage why we actually moved away from those type of solutions is because you cannot put any controls, you cannot put any notifications, you don't have any audit trail. And our biggest win was by moving to Zoho Creator that we would create a whole process that we would actually ensure that that would be in place. So it kind of depends on their use case. I don't know why they would use Google Drive. Is it just simply to put in some simple data? But if it's data that is sensitive and that you would want to use for analysis, and it needs to be of a certain quality and structure, then I would suggest that I wouldn't connect it all with Zoho Creator, but I would think about creating a solution on Zoho that would ensure that you would get those benefits.
I think that totally makes sense. And it also depends on the number of stakeholders there are in an organization. And if they would even want to scale, I think shifting to a low code platform like Creator would make sense. Okay, so I think we just have a couple of minutes and I don't see any more questions. So thank you for being a wonderful audience and asking us questions and participating in all the polls. Before we wrap up, any closing statements from you, Ali and Ella?
Leila, you go first, please.
Yep. Yes, please. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for having us. And I think if I talk about MTN, we have had some really good use cases, and we are looking forward with going live with the supplier portal too, because that would have been our second application. So, but it's definitely not going to be our last one. So I hope that after that, we're going to even have more use cases that we're going to go live with. And our biggest, and I already mentioned it, the biggest benefits are actually the audit trail, like I said, the user friendliness and the extremely quick go live that we can go with. And I think we can figure out a lot of more use cases that could benefit from those points.
Wonderful. From my side, I also want to thank you so much for your time, and of course, Leila, for your time as well. If you're in UAE, please pay us a visit. We do have an office in Dubai, if you don't know, or in Jeddah, or in Cairo, Cape Town, depends on where you're connecting from. I believe majority probably are from UAE. We can get into interesting conversations about your requirement, next level trainings, and all of that, either virtual or in person, and look into what we can do together. Having Zoho Creator in your basically kitchen cabinet, if I may, is always useful to make sure that you use the right tool to automate your processes. One of the things Leila just mentioned is that by having this tool next to you, available to you, and you know it exists, you will come up with new ideas because it's easy. It's just sitting there to be used and utilized. Before that, maybe you were like, okay, this is too complex, too expensive, we don't know. Now, let's give it a try. Let's automate a few processes here and there. Let's make sure our data is more protected. Why keeping data flat on a spreadsheet, which opens doors to a lot of different risks? And why not move it to a proper application which has reports that look like spreadsheets and does 1 million other things? So these conversations actually will engage even other team members. You will break into silos and integrate and connect and add values that probably were not possible before. Conversations that we did not know we could have are made possible by a low-code platform like Zoho Creator. So please give it a try. Let us know how we can help. And yeah, have wonderful businesses, and we wish you all growth and success in your business.
Thank you so much. Wonderfully wrapped, Ali. Thank you so much for your time, Leila, as well. And thank you, audience. Meanwhile, stay safe. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.